What's going on, everyone? About 74% of the S&P 500 closed down in the red today, and it was a bloody Halloween for the stock market. But there is a lot going on right now, and there's a lot of big things to pay attention to. We had some major earnings in after hours today from powerhouse companies like Apple, Amazon, and others. Intel also reported, and believe it or not, it is actually trending to the upside right now, which is mind-blowing to see, right? But there was also some big news with Donald Trump's stock and how this thing is getting shredded. So we're definitely going to talk about that. On top of that, supposedly Iran is planning to launch another response towards Israel before the election. And on top of all of that, we are seeing a broad increase in volatility in the market right now, which is all you can ask for as a trader. While today was down, the main thing is you have to adapt to it, because when there are big moves in the market, that is where some of the best opportunities come into play, not only in terms of short-term trades, but also like good dip buys. So with that being said, Tom, let's jump right into today's video. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, as you guys can see, the SPY had a pretty big move today, and I'm sure it didn't move the way many wanted. But if you did adapt today and ended up trading some of these stocks to the downside, you could have caught some amazing moves here. We talked about SPY posting up on these higher lows over the past few days, and last night it started to really give out as those earnings were released. Tonight, I have seen, a little bit of positivity here with the earnings, so let's get straight into those, Mike. Going right over to the calendar, Amazon, Apple, Intel are the big three that reported tonight. I guess first off, we'll go to Amazon, okay? And I figured I'd pick them because they're one of the big players that are really moving here. They ran all the way up almost to $200 in after hours tonight. And whenever I think of Amazon, what's one thing that really comes to mind for me is really everything to do with their AWS and all their cash flow with that. Whenever I start to read through the actual Amazon report here, there's some great stuff with their web services doing very, very well, coming in line. The sales are beating, the EPS beats, and the revenue beats here. So they beat all across the board here, Mike. And, of course, the stock is actually moving in the right direction this time, too, which is a good thing.
Yeah, so they made more money than everyone was expecting to. They brought in more revenue than everyone was expecting them to. Their cash flow's up 57% over the past trailing 12 months. Net sales are up 11% year over year. So overall, good job, Amazon. Their stock is also moving to the upside in after hours, which is good to see, and it will definitely be worth keeping on the radar tomorrow for a potential continuation or even a counter trend play. But what I thought was actually very exciting and somewhat surprising today is Intel stock, because this one is finally seeing some of the light, right? Seeing some daylight. Intel actually had some news where they beat on their revenue, which is good to see. They also beat on their profit expectations, and they announced that they are laying off 16,500 employees after laying off like nearly 19,000 employees just a few weeks ago. So it looks like management is really trying to turn things around here, and they need it. I mean, because this stock has been getting shredded not only over the past year, but over the past couple of years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you go to a weekly chart of Intel and it's like, wow, what has been going on? I mean, they still aren't above highs from the dot-com bubble in 2000. So if that says anything, you can go look at Apple and a bunch of other companies that were around back then that are doing much better than that. But looking at Intel, Mike, I think Intel's attractive to many people because it's so low that I think a lot of investors are out there like, hey, I might want to buy the dip on this one. It's a chip stock. I know they might not be the front runner in the chip industry like, let's say, NVIDIA, TSM, AMD, or others are. But nonetheless, Mike, they are in that industry, and they do deal a lot with, AI, and they're trying to develop their own chips to obviously compete and etc. So I think over the next couple of years, they will start to be a lot better. It's just in the short term, like, how much longer is the bloodbath going to continue? They are up in after hours, and it looks great on an intraday chart, but when you go to the daily, I mean, realistically, they're not really up that much.
Yeah, like they're in the best industry you can ask for in today's world. They have a lot to gain, but it's just a matter of if they can get their stuff together or not, because they have just been dropping the ball nonstop over these past couple of years. But it looks like management is really trying to turn things around now. So we'll see if they can succeed at that. But as we look at the stock in the short term, it definitely is showing some meaningful upside movement, which can definitely present some short-term bullish opportunities. But as we get through the rest of this video, we'll explore a lot of other potential short-term setups as well. So either way, we'll keep Intel on the radar, but let's also stay open-minded to other setups. Apple actually reported earnings today as well, and they beat on their revenue expectations, their profit expectations, and overall, they had like a okay earnings report, but investors didn't love it too much.
Yeah, they really didn't. The stock's moving down, and there's a couple things that are a bit negative about it, too. Their China numbers were actually slightly down year over year. Whenever you hear something like that, that's definitely not good. There's increased competition from Huawei, and the Chinese government doesn't really like Apple phones. There were certain bans and stuff like that for government employees and etc. But, whenever I read through the report, for the most part, it was pretty good. EPS beat, revenue still beat, even iPhone sales were good. And something that I thought that was really good about the iPhone sales is that they actually said that the iPhone 15 sales were stronger than the 14 sales, and now the 16 sales are actually stronger than the 15 were at this time last year. So I thought that was at least a good positive thing for them, but nonetheless, they are down in after hours, Mike. And I will say Apple has been holding their ground pretty well, but looking at them on the daily chart, there is a huge double top, and with this rejection, I think that's going to freak quite a bit of people out in the short term.
Absolutely. And then it's one thing to have earnings like this in just like a normal market, but when we have all of the real risks to the market right now, whether it be geopolitical risks, like what's going on in Europe or the Middle East, or even the developments in Asia, like it definitely is concerning. Or even if we look at some of the election fears and risks or valuation risk or anything else, that also plays into the effect of just a less strong leading stock like Apple. Microsoft, that reported earnings yesterday, got shredded today as it fell down by over 6%, and this was actually one of the worst days for Microsoft stock over the past 2 years. So this kind of goes to show you the way in which the market is shifting, and as we saw by looking at today's heat map, it was bloody, Tom. Like a lot of the big tech stocks sold off in a strong way, and it's not just earnings stocks. Whether you're looking at Microsoft or Meta, or even if you shift over to other companies like Nvidia and Tesla and others, there was a decent amount of selling pressure today, and it certainly is something that is concerning.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that a lot of people are also worried about that election coming up in just a few days. On Tuesday, Mike, we're going to be having the election. So that's going to be huge coming up as well. Just next week, I think a lot of people are going to be de-risking ahead of that event, but we normally don't see bookmaps this bloody. Micron, Boeing, Intel, Dell, Qualcomm, like they're all red, and they're red by a lot. It's not like we're just seeing, a lot of gray boxes or anything. We're talking pretty deep down in the grand scheme of things here, Mike. And whenever we go through and we look at like the QQQ and the SPY, it's pretty apparent as well that they're pulling back. Like the QQQ is actually double topping. I know that the SPY had recently made new highs, but even in the short term, it even posted a lower high on the daily as well.
Yeah, very interesting. And we'll definitely do a much deeper analysis of SPY in just a couple minutes, but we can't talk about selling pressure without mentioning DJT. This was nasty today. So this stock has been exploding over the past month as, of course, the election brings in more interest to Trump's stock. It was up like over 300% at one point, but these past couple of days have been brutal for this one, Tom. So what is going on here?
Yeah, poor DJT got taken to the woodshed again today, down 11.72%. And I will say it's down 11%. It doesn't even look like it's down that much from yesterday, but that's just how wild this stock actually does move. But whenever we start to go through here, the big thing is that there's a lot of election differences going on. Whenever I go to Polymarket, Mike, Trump actually lost a lot of the edge today. Just a few days ago, he was around 67%. today I saw them down around even 60 to 61%. So it just depends on what time you're looking at it. Down here at the bottom, you can see the actual numbers a bit better. I did see that get pretty low at one point, but Mike, DJT is going to be a wild stock. I know a lot of people think like, hey, this is just going to end up exploding. We got to keep in mind that we're also 2 halts today, which are pretty wild. Anytime you get halts on a stock, it's been pretty crazy, but it's going to be wild for the next few days. And once the election happens, it's going to be I can't even imagine the halts after the election.
I think the key thing here is that when you have a stock as crazy as DJT and you combine that with, of course, like you said, some shifting sentiment in terms of the prediction market, and then you also combine that with a brutal sell-off not only in the stock market today, but even in the crypto market, as Bitcoin actually sold off a decent amount as well, we are just seeing profit taking across the board. And to be honest, in many different stocks and assets, I don't really blame people for doing that because, again, there are real risks and there's real risk in the market and the economy right now. And why wouldn't you take some risk off the table ahead of a crucial election, right? So I'm not really too surprised by this, but as we look at DJT over these next couple of days, this stock will be one of the craziest moving stocks in the market, just given the fact that the election is in a couple of days. Keep this stock close on the radar. When it's trending to the upside, there are, of course, strong, bullish, short-term scalp opportunities associated with that, because when this stock does trend, whether it's up or down, it trends in a strong way. And of course, just the main thing with a stock as volatile as this one is you have to be willing to adapt and flow with the trend changes.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go back to even Tuesday of this week where there was a huge dip on DJT, and I'm sure a lot of people adapted to the downside during that, ended up doing pretty well, but ended up ripping right back up. The volatility on this stock is going to be insane, and just be careful trading the options as well. The implied volatility on the weekly chains, I've seen it up near 300%. So definitely be ready for that, Mike. And those bid-ask spreads are also pretty bad here in the short term.
And just when you thought that the world and the market couldn't get any crazier, we also have news from Iran. So basically what's going on here is, as we know, in the Middle East, tensions are just they're flaming up, right, in multiple different ways, shapes, and forms. Of course, Iran is not happy at all with Israel and the United States and many other people, but basically there are reports coming out suggesting that Iran can can send a retaliatory strike towards Israel that is supposed to be definitive and painful at some point before the election. Of course, this is not a good sign, but we're also seeing tensions rise in Lebanon and Gaza as well. So tensions are certainly rising quite a bit in the Middle East right now, and this is very important for multiple reasons, but the most applicable sense for the market is that oil prices are starting to shoot up. We can see the price of crude oil actually popped up by around 3% today, and Tom, it actually made a third higher low, and today's price action was pretty strong as well. So I think this is a pretty big signal here.
Yeah, it definitely is. I know a lot of people have actually been very disappointed in oil's price action over the past month, and trust me, I've been pretty disappointed with it too. It's been pulling back very, very hard, but at the same time, with oil, this is a huge support that oil is at. Look at all the times that oil is chopped around at this area in the past. Don't be surprised to even see more chop over the next few days in both directions. But I think that with all the stuff going on with Iran and Israel, if we do see a big retaliatory attack before that election, which is just in a few days, it could get pretty wild for oil. So I'm gonna definitely have my eyes out over this weekend, that's for sure, and be very wary of this. And we'll be mentioning oil a lot more throughout this video as well.
Yeah, towards the end, we have a over $1 million trade specifically with oil and energy. So stick with us all the way until the end. But Tom, as we look at the market overall right now, there was a lot of selling pressure today, and we broke the higher low trend that we've been hitting on quite a bit over the past couple of days. So given that information, what are the most important levels and analysis to keep in mind for SPY?
Yeah, that was a brutal move to the downside. And after hours today, we're not even really seeing any crucial signs of a big recovery or anything either, which I thought might happen with these earnings. But that's going to be one thing that's on my radar, is that we had such a crazy move today and the market's so volatile. Just expect these, little volatile pops back to the upside and little reversals as this trend continues. But overall, the SPY has definitely been on a pretty good downtrend, Mike. You hit on it a lot on that October 17th date, which was the recent high. And since then, we've really been failing to break back out. Today was really the definitive move that sent the market lower. For tomorrow, there's going to be a couple big levels that I'm looking for. Firstly, the major support down around 565 is going to be the first and I would say largest level that I'm looking for to the downside. I don't want to say the first one though, because there are some minor levels mixed in, like right around 568 as well. And we're just under 570, which was a recent pretty large support. So those are all levels that I'm looking out for tomorrow, Mike. And the big thing is really managing the volatility. If we can see that good downside pressure and just constant pressure on the lows of days, like we talk about, and like we've said, SPY has had quite a bit over the past few weeks. There's multiple scenarios of great intraday price action down on the SPY over the past couple weeks. Then we could really start to see these plays continue to develop, and we'll start to see some of these daily charts play out and continue to turn over in a larger way. And right now they're turning over pretty harshly, especially on some of the big tech stocks like Apple, which of course influence SPY so much. And that's what's so big about these earnings and them not having the good positive movement that people were looking for.
Absolutely. And as we are entering a period of higher volatility, I cannot stress the importance of being able to adapt and flow with the trend changes, because what we see during periods of higher volatility are much stronger, more powerful moves to the upside and the downside. And if you don't adapt with those trend changes, you will get ran over. So let's remember to adapt with them and keep that as a top priority. But we also have a handful of exciting economic events on the schedule as well. Tomorrow, 1 hour before the market opens, we have non-farm payrolls and the unemployment data set to release, which will be important. We also have ISM manufacturing PMI 30 minutes after the market open. And as we peek into next week, we actually have a crucial interest rate decision on Thursday as well. So we have quite the lineup over these next couple days, let alone the election. So with that being said, let's jump right into some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is SHEL. Basically, SHEL had a pretty great move to the upside today as the price of crude oil popped. Shell is a company certainly with exposure to oil and energy, and there was actually a recent big money $800,000 call trade put on this one at the 70 strike call option for the April 17th of 2025 expiration. I really like the way that it has dipped down over the past couple of weeks, and now we're really starting to see some strong bullish momentum come in here, where I like the reward to risk playing this one over the next couple weeks to months.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I even like the daily chart quite a bit. It looks like it's holding that support in a fantastic way. And intraday today, you can't get much better than that with these oil stocks moving 3%. So I'll definitely watch SHEL over the next couple days, Mike, as well as all the other oil companies out there. With my first play today, Mike, this one's going to make some people sad, I have a feeling, but it's on LCID. And this stock just keeps falling from the heavens. I just can't believe it, Mike. It's posting new all-time lows. I almost could not even believe that I said that, at least on the daily chart. We're posting new all-time lows here on Lucid. So I'm just going to keep watching for this downside pressure to continue tomorrow. They do have earnings coming up in about a week, but I'm really just looking to continue to play this good downside selling pressure on Lucid. But man, that Lucid support, I thought it was going to hold, but it's starting to really give out in a strong way here today.
Yeah, that one is looking pretty rough as well. So I will keep it on my radar. But another stock that will be worth watching closely is SQQQ. Technically, it is an ETF, but basically, when the NASDAQ is falling, this moves up in a major way. It was up over 7% just today. And if we continue to see more selling pressure like we saw today, then SQQQ has a lot of upside potential. As we look at this stock on a daily chart or any zoomed out chart, we can see that when we had the sell-off like in July of this year, SQQQ went from like around $7 and let's say 40 cents a share all the way up to highs of like $11.50. That's a great move, especially for just like about a month or so. And right now we are starting to build some of that bullish momentum with this stock again. So with that being said, SQQQ is definitely on the bullish radar going forward. But again, this is a play specifically for a bearish overall market thesis. The more pressure that the market puts on its lows, the better SQQQ is to the upside.
Yeah, SQQQ is pretty insane right now. I can't believe how much it ended up popping up today, and it actually reverse split soon, which is funny. These stocks reverse split as time goes on because of how they're set up. A lot of the leveraged ETFs and stuff that do these types of things obviously decay over time and do this if you check on their charts. So that's why sometimes they look a little wild, but nonetheless, for short-term opportunities, it's going to be awesome for the next couple days. So I'm going to be watching it very closely, Mike. With my next play, I'm looking at MicroStrategy to the downside. I'm watching the 240 support very closely in the short term. If I see a good break of 240 tomorrow and I start to see this level really give out, I'll keep watching this down. Bitcoin had a down day today, like we talked about, and if that continues tomorrow, I could see more bearish pressure out of MicroStrategy and even Coinbase, which had a pretty bad day today as well, down 15% following their earnings. But with MSTR, I do like that solid level here at 240. If we start to give out there tomorrow, I'll watch it down. It even has some good levels on the Bookmap where there's good buy walls at 240 and 235.
Beautiful. All right, so we are all set for today's momentum plays then. And with the first one, we have MU for both directions.
Yeah, poor MU today had a pretty bad day. It's down around a key support, though, at $100. If it could end up getting back below the low of day today at 99, I'm going to watch it back down. If it ends up having a miracle tomorrow and getting back above 101.50, then I'll watch it back up. But I'm really watching for that 99 break.
All right, with the next one, we have Uber to the downside.
Uber was pretty crazy today as it fell off with their earnings. If they end up breaking under $70, keep watching them down.
All right, and then with the last one, we have IONQ also to the downside.
Yeah, IONQ has been one of those stocks, Mike, that's been on fire lately, but the fire has been starting to fade a bit here. So if it ends up falling under $14.75, then watch IONQ to the downside as well.
All right, so we have IONQ and Uber on watch for potential downside continuations tomorrow, if and only if they break below the levels listed. MU has that downside level as well, but it also has an upside level as we talked about. Either way, with these three stocks, the stronger and more consistent they move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, then don't feel the need to force these setups. But besides that, let's jump right into today's $1 million big money trade. And as we talked about, it is a stock that has to do with oil and energy, and we are looking at ticker symbol OXY. Today, the big money bought the 40 strike call options that expire on December 20th of 2024. They put $1,067,000 into this trade. Ticker symbol OXY is bouncing off of a major support right now, right around like $49.50 to $50 per share. Of course, the rising tensions in the Middle East are having a bullish impact on oil prices, which is definitely helping just all stocks that are related to the oil and energy industry. As we look at OXY right now, the big money is buying this call trade as the stock is at a very depressed level. It's holding that support in a major way. And of course, the tensions in the Middle East don't look like they are slowing down anytime soon. I like the reward to risk with this setup. I like how close it is to support. And of course, if we do see more bad things in the Middle East, oil prices can definitely rise more.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit, and there's a pretty good recent low, like you said, around that like 49.50 mark. You could maybe even throw stops around like $49 if you wanted to give or take a little bit extra there. It's that close to support that you can kind of play around with this one a little bit, and the risk reward is still going to be pretty fantastic. So I love this one, Mike. It's right around support. We had another recent big money play on Oxy as well that's been kind of stuck in the mud, and hopefully we can get that good support bounce here, and crude oil can hold its support as well. I think that's going to be the key thing for Oxy is like, hey, if crude turns over and we do see like $65 break to the downside, that would be one negative. One thing that I'm thinking of, Mike, is like one potential scenario that would be a bad thing for Oxy would maybe be if like Trump wins and then they perceive that win as being like more peace in the Middle East or something. But I would say with the tensions the way they are now, I don't really see that being a big thing as of this very moment. But it is something I'm thinking of with the election too that will affect oil in a way.
Yep, so we shall see. Either way, keep a close eye on OXY going forward. But we also want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Mysterious Armadillo, who posted a great screenshot today, and they said being consistent, and they did pretty great with some Carvana call options and some EL call options as well. So huge shout out to you, and keep on rolling. It's awesome to see screenshots like this one. So great job there. If you guys are into short-term trading, definitely check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. We have a phenomenal coupon code running Pumpkin Profit for the StockedUp trading floor, where you get full access to our army of trading robots, our live events. You can chat with Town and myself all day long, access all the big money plays, and much more. Today, SurgeBot went off with all of this downside price action. We can see some of the top setups of the day were some coin put options that popped up by 389%, Uber put options that popped up by 197%, Boeing put options that popped up by 192%, and so on. You can see the whole recap right here, but this is just one of the many bots that we have, and as volatility continues to increase, these numbers will only get bigger. If you're into short-term trading, the trading floor is the spot to be, and coupon code Pumpkin Profit locks you in at the lowest price possible. So definitely check that out with the link in the description and the comments down below. But besides that, it is an exciting time to be a trader. There's a lot going on in the market and the world right now, and we are set for a lot of sweet opportunities throughout the rest of this year. So thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you can get our videos recommended to you more often. And besides that, let's end this week on a great note.